Welcome to the Recruiter Abroad Startup Podcast. My name's Dulta Doherty, and in this podcast series, I will be interviewing advisors, investors, thought leaders, and founders from the agency recruitment world in how to set up, scale, and operate a world-class recruitment company. We have merged all our other podcasts together. So now you can get all the Recruiter Abroad episodes here too, where I interview agency recruiters and recruitment owners who have foreign entities all over the world in places like Australia and America and Asia. And we're also going to be interviewing more and more founders of recruitment firms, because that's probably the thing I'm asked for most, is to find the person who set up the company and get their story, because that's what the audience wants. So this week, I've decided to reach out to some of our clients, and straight away I got a response from Ken Harbourne in Dublin, and he came on short notice and told me his story. Great lad. He's been in recruitment for over 20 years. He's done it in Australia briefly, and came back, set up his own company, then joined Robert Half, went through all of that with him, became country manager of Robert Half, and then the recession hit. Anyway, took an opportunity in the recession to set up his own business, and we walked through all of that. So great story of highs and lows, and really good to get into the detail of how somebody like him runs his week. What do founders actually do? And he's still billing, and I always say this: the best people who are running recruitment firms, I mean, maybe not recruitment firms that are hundreds and hundreds of people, but medium-sized recruitment firms, they're always still on the tools, still billing, still listening to clients, still going out there and winning business. And he's one of these guys. So hope you all enjoy it. I enjoyed speaking to him, and we're going to be doing more of this. So let me know what you think. And hit me up at any stage on LinkedIn if you want to come in and share the story of your business and your journey, whether you're a recruiter abroad, a founder, or maybe a thought leader. We've got Greg Savage lined up to come on in a few weeks' time. So really excited about that. But, you don't have to be LinkedIn famous to come on here. So, just hit me up. If you need anything, I'm always available to chat. All right, over to Ken. Cheers. Ken Harbourne.
Hi, Dualta.
How are you today?
Great, thanks.
You figured out this newfangled technology at last.
Yeah, Generation X. What can you do? Others would have done it in 30 seconds. I take 15 minutes, but there you go.
All right, good on you. Well, look, welcome to the Recruiter Abroad Startup Podcast, and I just sprung this on you today. So thank you very much for putting aside some time and coming in and having a chat.
You're more than welcome. Thanks for having me.
So far, I've been interviewing agency recruiters around the world, and I've also been interviewing thought leaders and founders of recruitment firms. So I was really interested to get you on, because you've been in recruitment for over 20 years. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much bang on 20 years actually this year.
So what we normally do at the start is I'll just ask you to kind of give us a bit of a rundown into your background, and then we'll just have a wee chat around different areas within the agency recruitment game.
Sure.
So where did it all begin? Yeah, where did it all begin? How did you grow up aspiring to be a recruitment consultant?
Yeah, it was a funny story actually. I was in college, kind of did a marketing degree, just for the sake of doing a degree. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Average student, bit of a messer. And I was at a college fair, and there was a chap at a stand there from a recruitment company. And I just asked him, what does he do? Because I'd never heard of such a thing as recruitment. And he explained it to me, and I said, "That's a job." He said, "Yeah, that's a job, and I do it." And to be honest, I'll be very honest, he was sloppy looking. He was a bit disorganized himself. So I thought to myself, as a young, cocky, 22-year-old, if he can do it, I can do it. So that's where I got the idea from. I was working full time as a retail manager while I was in college as well for Dunn Stores, which is one of Ireland's biggest retailer, while in college. So I literally just, at the summer, as soon as I graduated, sent the CVs off, posted them, showing my age. And the first guy called me. I'd literally been out for a few beers the night before, and he rang me the next day, and I was a bit groggy. He said, "You sound terrible on the phone, but I'll give you an opportunity. Come on in here. You've got till 12 o'clock." So I sped in, got my suit on, sped in on the bus, got into the office, his office. He put me on this thing called Talking CVs, which is basically you're interviewing on camera at the time, which was revolutionary. Didn't last, but it was revolutionary at the time. And asked me a lot of questions, and I actually did a terrible interview. But after that, I did a personality test, and ideal job came out, recruitment consultant.
Yeah.
So
did it say you were a sociopath? Was that?
Yeah, sociopath. He just talked like talking for a living, So that was it. So it was pure luck. I thought, I sought it out, but I didn't realize I'd be good at it. So that's all. I started with best way to describe it would be Yellow Pages phone, no PC. I asked for business cards, and I was told absolutely, as soon as you put some money on the board, So it was really old school.
What were you recruiting for?
I was handed a bunch of CVs and said, I didn't know any different. I was a rookie. Just go find, make some money, make £10,000 a month, or we'll fire you. That was literally the. And not knowing any different, that was okay with me. So I didn't have a space. I wasn't given a space, rather. So I just got my supplier list from the retail company I worked with and start calling those suppliers, making pretty poor calls, I'd say, at the time. But I was lucky enough to get a couple of people who were desperate for hiring people. And so I started doing retail recruitment, so retail management and retail HQs, just on the back of that supplier list, and took to it like a duck to water, and built, thankfully, very well in the beginning, and off it went from there.
Yeah. So you felt like you knew it all. You were 23, and by the looks of it, you moved to Sydney. Is that right?
Yeah. So I had a really good year, and I was that age where I said, look, now or never. I knew if I stayed any longer, I'd be caught in by the trappings of all the the success and money, etc. So my partner and I just decided to go and travel the world, and we did that. And halfway round, we ended up or most of the way around, we ended up in Australia. I worked for a company called Walker Hamill over there, which was a finance and accounting sort of banking temp recruiter at the time.
Was that Niall Hamill's old company?
Niall Hamill, absolutely. Niall Hamill, yes, a great guy, Irish guy.
I've had a few beers with him in Perth about 6 years ago, so I remember him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, he's a great guy. So that's it, doing banking, temp recruitment, never did that. Love temp, very quick, ton of calls, pre-LinkedIn, obviously. So very, just making a ton of calls to people. And then eventually, after a ton of calls, you get half an opportunity to get a temp in, and then you need to move quickly on it. So great experience. Didn't spend that long out there, but I was always coming back, which Niall always said to me was unusual. I always had a plan to just work and come back straight away. And yeah, but it was a great experience.
All right, excellent. So you came back, and did you set up your own business then?
My own business. I sort of, I was in dreamland, having read sort of self-development books for the prior sort of 9 months. So I was taking on the world with all the ideas to do so. So I decided to set up a centre for young foreign people coming into the country in Dublin, whereby I'd be connected with all the agencies. They'd come in, I'd help them out with starter pack when they arrived first, anyone that could legally work in Ireland, so Europeans, Aussies, Kiwis, people like that. So, and we'd be connected with, the agencies. So someone comes in looking for a job, we send them to a construction agency if they're a construction person. The agency would advertise with us. So we were kind of we'd send them their way. But there was also, accommodation. We'd help them out with that, with, sending their stuff home, posting their stuff home, money remitting, Western Union, all that type of stuff. So it's great experience. Great for the heart, not great for the pocket. That's the way I describe it.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one. Were you doing a few deals on the side to keep the books up and running as well?
It was making money, but it just wasn't making it. So there was no great financial future. There's only X amount of people coming into Dublin looking for work that would have that service. And I was earning a living. There was no great living out of it. So I decided to close it down, which is a tough decision when it's your baby, after, I think, 2 years. And then I got a call coincidentally from an ex-colleague who I worked with in my first recruitment company from London, who had recommended me to a rec-to-rec, and who said Robert Half were hiring. And I knew them from Australia, having competed with them in Australia.
And walk us through that. Were Robert Half well established in Dublin? What was it like back then?
No, back then it was a very clear remit. They were very honest. I really liked the fact they were, not to disparage the Irish company I was working with, but ethics wasn't high on the agenda, and ethics was important to me, particularly when I sort of realized what I wanted for myself. So Robert Half were very much talking about ethics and doing things right and doing things professionally. I didn't realize, you could do that in Ireland. So I like what they had to say. They were looking for a branch manager at the time, but the business was hemorrhaging money. There was 3 people in an office who had no manager for the previous 8 months. The previous 2 managers didn't work out. So it was a real basket case. They told me, listen, give it a go. But if it doesn't work with you, we're shutting it down. Simple as that.
So what age were you at this stage? Were you like 28?
I was 26. 26.
Okay. Yeah. So you go in, it's a big brand, although not a big brand in Dublin. It's not doing too well. There's a couple of people there underperforming. How did you turn it around? What was your first course of action?
I think one of the key things for me was that they were called, and this is a real habit, I think, with companies, is they think they're specialists. So I kind of looked at what they're doing. They were saying they're financial services and accounting specialists, but that's not a specialism. That's not specialist. So the first thing I did was say, we're only recruiting for, we're only recruiting for permanent roles in Dublin, in C&I accounting, within a certain salary level. So that's all. I said, we're not doing anything else, full stop. And I think of any decision that I made there, that was the key decision that saw things moving. So there was synergy with candidates, every single bit of information that we got there for. They had a database, you see, and we could focus on the candidates, and there was 3 of us in the office, and that's all we did. On the back of doing that, we got real traction and started making a lot of placements, and then we built it from there. And then we took on one little area at a time. Those areas were very closely linked. So we did temp. We did temp in the same area, C&I. Then we did FS accounting. And so on. Then we did FS ops, and then we took on insurance, and then we did a couple of other things. So, so it was little bit by bit, but focusing, specializing, and not being distracted, which you can be when you're financial services and accounting. You'll end up being a generalist, really, when you think you're a specialist and not getting any traction.
So that was 2004. I'm guessing you had a good run for at least 4 years there. What size were they when you before we know what happened in that special year?
Yeah, so we grew we're the fastest growing office in the world for the company. I think there was 400 offices at the time in Robert Half, so that was pretty good. I was belle of the ball, and because you're doing well, and etc. And we were making all our money in banking and financial services, which was huge and growing. Lending specifically was a huge area for us, and professional services. And yes, the world it was like a tap turning off in September 2008. So we were booming, literally up until then a tap turned off. So we had 35 people in Dublin, and it literally turned off. So we had a C&I business, which was about 25% of the business. So that was okay.
What is C&I, sorry?
sorry, commerce and industry accounting. So non-financial services accounting business. So I wasn't reliant on financial banks or financial services companies, and that was okay. But 75% of our business was financial services, and literally a tap turned off. So there's nothing you could do. It was a horrible time. I was, had to let go two-thirds of the office, which was terrible. Really good people, no fault of their own. Frankly, I was left with, some really good performers, but unfortunately, those performers were, tough characters in terms of, they weren't team players. And so that kind of made matters worse in terms of what we were left with. And Robert Half made a strategic decision to pull out of 4 countries, or sorry, maybe 5 countries: Czech Republic, Austria, Italy, Ireland, and Spain. I got a call from my colleague in Spain. It was a bank holiday here. He told me, "Ken, listen, they shut me down." I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Yeah, they've shut me down. We're all outside the office now. The office is closed." So they were coming to me the next day for a normal meeting. So I kind of guessed that wasn't a normal meeting. They flew in, told me I had everything prepared for a counter argument, but that wasn't on the agenda. They told me, "Listen, Ken, sorry, we're strategic decision. We're shutting the office down. Bring in the team and tell them, please." We were literally in the pub at 12 noon, having a pint, wondering what we're going to do with our lives. So that was a rough time.
Yeah. And Ken, did you have kids at this stage?
I had a kid on the way, what we call a Celtic Tiger mortgage, which was a big mortgage at the time in Dublin. I had my first kid on the way. So rang my wife to tell her. Of course, she was crying on the phone, and it was a tough time.
And was she working, or was she?
Was working, thankfully, yeah, but that wasn't going to pay for the majority of our outgoings. Wouldn't even cover the mortgage, So that was rough. But I remember one thing that really struck with me at the time, again from reading a lot of books over that period, was when you encounter a stressful situation, just take action. So I literally set up a business the next day.
And I think from the outside looking in, it's a blessing in disguise. I'm sure it's hard to see that at the time, but you wouldn't have had any restrictive covenants right then in that moment, which is unheard of for somebody getting to your level, with somebody like Robert Half. And like, I think we all know, Robert Half go after people who leave their business and take any business. So an opportunity presented itself, it's fair to say.
It didn't, because there was a tap that turned off. There was nothing left in the tap. So I was a branch manager, managing director, country manager, who, I mean, I was involved in recruitment, but I wasn't 360. I was managing people who were, so the direct relation with the clients. And secondly, more importantly, there was no business left really in most of the areas that were left. So I had to start from scratch from my network again. So yes, there was no covenant, but the business that I then developed myself was through my own network really, and through just trying to build and work outside of that space.
And so you're, I suppose, like, you're at that stage, your tools aren't the sharpest from being a 360 agency recruiter, and you have to get back to basics. What was the first thing? What was those first few months like? Did you do it from home? Did you even bother setting up a website? Did you like? Can you walk us through how you went from 0 to making maybe a placement month on month, and how long?
Yeah. So the previous experience with my own business certainly taught me that working from home doesn't work at all. You need an office. So I got a bit of redundancy from the guys in Robert Half. In fairness to them, they looked after me financially somewhat. So I had some money, so I rented a Regis office, which they're around the world. So it's a nice office, so at least you have a nice location in the heart of Dublin too, which is the sort of CBD of Dublin. It was back to the wall. There's a wonderful thing about having to do something, there was no choice. It's not. So when you have to do something and you've no other, it's not as if you're managing anything or doing anything. I mean, I set up on my own. So it literally is just hit the phones, work. Like, so I just do a list of everybody I knew, friends from college, just touched base with them, told them what I was doing. Somebody gave me half an opportunity in myhome.ie, which is like an online estate agent, and they gave me some sales agent, and I'm not used to recruit salespeople, so that was like a couple of grand. And then I got a tax manager, which no one else could fill, but I spent my life working on it, found a candidate for that. So it's great having to do it. And then I just found huge freedom in going 360. I was nervous about it because building it something from scratch hadn't happened for me before, but I just found I was very good at it. So I guess the hustling, just hitting the roads, having to do it. And one of the really powerful things that I found, one of the most powerful things that was a huge surprise to me, Dualta, was when you're going out to a client. I used to be so proud of the Robert Half brand because we're a multi-billion-dollar organization. We've got all these offices, blah, blah, blah. But when I went out and I eyeballed my clients and I said, listen, it's just me. I'm going to fill your jobs. Nothing's going to stop me from filling your jobs. Just give me the opportunity. Clients love that. They love it. And they don't want the $1 million, $1 billion business. They want a guy to fill their jobs for them, and who both says that and does that. And so because I had to do it, and that's what I did, and I'm good at it, I did it. So I just literally hustled around town, and the Regis office was fun because there was lots of businesses there, other businesses. So I had an office beside the coffee machine. So every time I'd hear the coffee or the kettle boiling, I was straight out, chatting up all the other businesses in there, and got a load of business. I think I got 200 grand from just chatting people up over the coffee machine. And so you kind of build a few clients, and then luckily for me, a couple of people I knew came to me and said, Ken, listen, what are you doing? A couple of ex-Robert Half people, as well as a couple of other people. And then I took a risk and hired 2 people together. But I was billing really well, Dualta, so that was the key. The business would not have survived in the first 2 years properly without me billing really well. So I kept that throughout, and I still keep that throughout now. So I turned myself into, I was effectively a helpless victim being a managing director and not being 360, where now, if to my business, I know I do really well because I know I can bill.
Yeah. Do you still bill?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. So you got it up. You're getting out of there. It's taken a little while to get you up and going, but you've got a few people. Well, now you're at a point when you're kind of putting a structure together, because you've hired a few people, you've worked with them before. They're obviously very good, but you need to kind of think of, well, what are we going to communicate to the next wave of people coming on? What things did you take from Robert Half, and what did you leave behind?
Yeah, do you know what? That's really funny, because there's a problem there. You're talking about the dream. You're not. So all you have is the dream, and people want to see concrete stuff. So, like, for example, I was calling it. First of all, I called the Wallace Myers International. It was just me in an office on my own. There was no international to it. But that's what I wanted to become. So the branding was the start of that. The fact that I'd come from Robert Half and I knew how to build, a world-class organization, I had that. And so I could talk to that, and people coming from other places that weren't world-class, which is most places, knew that I was talking reality. However, to your point, I didn't bring everything. I took some stuff and I got a lot of learning, but I changed the model to protect the business. One of the Robert Half model, or the model I was using was at Robert Half, was all high margin, every trick in the book to get around, to get to line managers, to, every technique you can think of. Brilliant stuff. But truly, it wasn't focused on long-term relationships. So one of the things I did was I decided we're going to focus on everything we do is about long term. So we're going to find clients, we're going to impress clients, we're going to place with clients, and then we're going to keep clients. And if you're really focused on that, that actually helps protect your business long term. So that philosophy itself on its own that I developed and focused on and stuck to is a real attraction for people, because a lot of other agencies might think they do that, but it's not a focus for them. So I found we attracted people that way, as well as, selling the dream and what we're going to build, or what we're going to do and build. But it's a lot harder when you're starting off. So I guess my clarity for what I wanted to do helped.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was just talking to a lot of people, I guess.
And what does that mean for maybe the recruiters that you're hiring? Like, how would that like embodiment their working day? How they use your ethics in order to win business, as opposed to Robert Half? Is there something different in the way that they make the call, or that they present the resume?
Yeah. So, for example, okay, so just practically, it's not how it's who they are. So, like, this might sound funny, but I've been really, really protective, because I was left with, I'll just be honest with you, I was left with some crazy lunatic big billers who were, a disaster to work with in the last days of Robert Half, and I had to let go of some really great, normal, hardworking people just because of the market. And I said, I'm never doing that again. So I focused on hiring, which is hard to find, normal human beings who do what they say they're going to do, who work hard and have the talent. So and have the talent is the challenge with that. So we didn't do it perfectly, but now we have a culture now that has that. So if the culture has it, anybody that's dropped into it stands out like a sore thumb. So the practices are based on people's approach to adding value, approach to actually returning people's calls, treating people with respect. If that's what other people are doing in the organization, if you're not doing it, you'll leave or you'll stand out. And if you are doing it, you'll fit in and you'll be part of that culture. So in the beginning, you just need a couple of anchor people. So I had a couple of solid, not far from remarkable guys who were profitable, and then not profitable, but they were great for culture. So I really made sure I kept those guys, even though they weren't making a lot of money, and they were great people as well, just because I knew that the impact they'd have on the culture. And that helped me create this whole ethical piece within the business, the foundations.
How have you protected yourself against the next recession?
Well, the model is set up to protect. So I vowed to myself, I'm never doing that again. I've never been in that position. So look, you're going to be smashed. Whenever the thing turns, you're going to be smashed. There's a couple of things that protect you. Number one is long-term relationships with clients. So if you don't have long-term relationships with clients and the market turns, forget about your 30%, forget about anything, because you've no relationship. And I say 30% because that's a high fee in Ireland. So the long-term relationships, number one, help. With larger organizations, so SMEs get hammered in a recession. Larger organizations are not as affected by a local economy. So larger type of organizations helps a lot. And then temp, like you can't do a lot of temp at the beginning because you can't afford it payroll wise. But now we're focusing on temp and contract, which clearly is guaranteed cash flow. So we're moving a lot towards temp and contract, because perm ultimately in a recession gets hammered straight away.
What was the first international office that you opened, and what was that process like?
So my colleague, when Robert Half pulled out of a number of locations, they also pulled out of Czech Republic. So the country manager, managing director over there, Aleš Krajček, I just kept in contact with all these guys. I got on so well with them, really good people. And so their office shut down. And, 3-4 years into this operation, I kind of reached out to him. I knew he was on a contract which had finished up, and I said, "Do you want to do something?" So I trusted him. I knew him. I knew he had the same values I did, and he was a really good guy. So we had several conversations, and we decided to open up in Prague. So that's a couple of years old now, and we're doing very well there. And again, it's a trust thing. I know him. I know his approach. So that was my approach to doing that. We have a lot of business in the UK, but currently we're doing well because it's UK nationwide. There's nobody physically based there. They're all based here. So that's the only international office we have at present, although we're keen to open more.
So talk to me about what your average week is like as a founder, CEO, and a biller. How do you fit all of that in between hiring new staff, making sure your managers are on point, filling roles, and preparing strategic stuff for the future? What does that look like in terms of your weekly schedule?
Yeah, I mean, it's look, there is a weekly schedule. So personally, look, just to answer the question clearly, you learn and you grow, and as the business grows, that needs to change. But basically, my day is made of. So I'm in it. I come in for 7:30 in the morning. I do what I call strategy from 7:30 to 9 on the button. So I am pretty disciplined to that. So what that means is, anything new strategically in the business that I need to do, everything external that isn't to do with me billing or running the business or day to day. So anything outside that, be it new training, new hires, talent attraction, anything. I do that for an hour and a half every day, as in focus on doing something major within the business. I have a strategy, a new strategy I have on my board, which I'm implementing over the next sort of year. I'm doing that bit by bit. And again, I'm taking chunks of that every day and hammering that every day. From 9 o'clock, to be honest, it's just business as usual. We have a routine now. We have, a management meeting. We have a team meeting once a week. We have, I'm billing, I'm talking to clients. So my time is an hour and a half in the morning, and everything else is just business as usual, which is growing, building the business.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So look, that kind of brings us up to all my questions. I suppose just, can you give us an outline of how many people you have in Dublin? What type of people are you looking to hire? Where can people find you? And how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so we 25 people in the business, nearly 27. We have 2 more coming in now from abroad, actually. So in Dublin, then we've another 5 in Prague, in Czech Republic. So so look, as I said on the phone, it's a very, very, very clear skill set. We look for people who want to add value, real value, actually want to do that, are very professional, want to add value in their relationships, both with candidates and clients, understand the value, even from a selfish perspective, to return people's calls, to not headhunt from clients, all these basic things that we call ethics here. And so I think that's really important for me, hiring anybody coming in. And we treat this as a career here. Secondly, I think, and equally important, is you got to be a performer. I can't turn someone who isn't good at the job into someone who's good at the job. You've got to be good at the job. And to do that, for me to know that, I need to know you've got a proven track record in billing. And if you can bill and you're hands-on and you're up and coming, that's great. And so the last piece is up and coming. I think we've got a lot to share and a lot to give in terms of building what we call a world-class brand here. So I think people really need to be open to ideas, open to learning. You have to know that about yourself, that you're not the mold is not set. If the mold is not set and you're willing to go on a journey and you've got the billing track record and you're ethical, that's the sort of person we're looking to hire.
What can they, if somebody hits their targets, what type of billings are deemed good in your organization? And secondly, what type of money could they make if they hit that?
Yes. So look, we're incredibly transparent here. So look, our commission structure, we don't have any thresholds. It's uncapped. It starts at 10%, moves up to 20%, moves up to 30% on anything billed. So our promotional path is very clear. If you bill X amount, you get promoted. So depending on, obviously, I'm talking to a non-Irish audience. So we're talking about, if you can place, 1 to 2 people a month, on a consistent basis, you'll get to our senior level. So that's not that complicated, perm, that is. If you can place 3 to 4 people a month, you'll get to our principal level. All of these things will include salary increases, will include increase in benefits. We offer healthcare, pension, lots of other benefits. If you can place 5 to 6 people a month, you get to executive level, and that's effectively your window, if you like, or your opportunity to manage people and build a team. So everything is organic here. Because we're only at a point now. We've grown exponentially. We turned over, 5.2 million last year from 0 7 years prior. But we're still not built. We've loads and loads of growth. So anybody coming in who hits that level at executive can actually grow their own business and their own team in a division. So that kind of works for us. So that's, if that answers your question. And sorry, monetarily, it's uncapped. So I think if you're hitting that executive level at that point, which is about 5 placements approx a month, you're going to be earning a 6-figure income in euro.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much, Ken. What a journey. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story.
My pleasure, Dwalta. Thank you very much.
Massive thank you to Ken for coming on and sharing his journey with us. I love that he's still billing, that he's still going in and working every day. Even though he has a turnover of over 5 million, still he's hitting the phones, he's going out to meet clients, he's winning business, and he's making sure that he's future-proofed against any recession, because he learned that lesson the hard way. Great guy, great guest. And look, as I said in the intro, if you're a founder of a company, give me a shout, come on the show, tell your story. And we'd love to hear from you, because that's what recruiters really want. They really want to hear how you set up the business, what you believe in, and how maybe they could emulate your journey to becoming a really successful recruitment business owner. All right, till next week, guys. Thanks. God bless.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.